evening and welcome to the Hatha Yoga Center. This is our 7 p.m. beginners class and I'm Chris. And it's a nice summery evening in Seattle. The day started out kind of gray, but it looks like it's coming around, which is welcome. We've had kind of some gray weather lately, so find your seat. Let's start in a seated position for a moment and just find our breath, and then we'll start on our back with movement. But just for a moment, come to a place where you can sit with your long, upright, neutral spine. So kind of moving around a little bit and feeling into your seat, letting your seat be heavy. So you could be sitting on a chair, or you could be sitting on the floor like I am. I have a little lift underneath my seat to make it more comfortable and to allow me to be able to find my long neutral spine. You might roll your shoulders up and back a couple of times, just allowing them to release and letting your shoulder blades slide down the back of your rib cage. You could bring your hands, palms facing down on your thighs, and then once you feel kind of settled and centered, just close your eyes for a moment or find a soft gaze in front of you and begin to bring your attention to your breath. So you might start by just noticing what your breath is like without changing it, if that's possible. So breathing in and out through the nose. And feeling how the breath affects you as you begin to lengthen and deepen the breath. Let it be relaxed, but let it be more complete and be more aware of your breath. And as you breathe, you can feel how your rib cage expands and contracts. So you might bring your hands to your rib cage, and you could just feel that happening as you're breathing. So keep the length in your spine as you breathe. Try not to shrink as you exhale. And then you might bring one hand to your belly and just feel the belly moving with the breath. So as you inhale, excuse me, you might feel that your belly moves to expand a bit, so that you'll feel that your belly is expanding to make room for the respiratory diaphragm to move down. And then as you exhale, you can feel at the very end of your exhale like your belly is drawing in to push all the air out. So breathe like that a few breaths, in and out through the nose. Relaxing your face and your jaw. Feel how open everything is, your airways, all the way in through the nose, down through the throat, into the lungs. And then let's come onto our back to begin with some movement, starting from this position. So coming down onto your back, and you just bring your arms down by your sides with the backs of your hands on the floor. And you might actually just stretch your legs out and come into this pose, which we call corpse pose or shavasana, which we usually end class with. So we'll start and end in this position. So here you could close your eyes for a moment and see if you can really surrender the weight of your body to the floor, to gravity, allowing your body to be heavy, and feeling how your breath affects that. So keeping that same conscious, deeper breathing and feeling how that allows you to soften and release against the floor more completely. And just taking a couple conscious breaths. Let the front of your chest be open, feeling your shoulder blades against the floor. And then you could sweep your arms up and just lengthen up and stretch like you're waking up. And you might flex your feet and point your toes a couple times. And then bring your hands back behind your head, clasping your hands behind your head, and let your elbows relax towards the floor, which might feel like a stretch right there. Breathing into the middle of your back. And then lift the head with your hands and bring your elbows together and kind of lift your head and stretch the back of your neck. And then roll back down and open the elbows. Take a big breath. Inhale and then exhale, and do that one more time, drawing the elbows together and lifting the back of the head, curling the neck up, breathing. And then exhale back down, opening your elbows again and releasing your hands. And then draw your knees in towards your chest and just rock a little bit from side to side. And then bringing your left foot to the floor, circle the right knee around with the hand on the knee. Kind of feeling into your hip joint, into the movements of the hips. Actually do it without your hand. And keep the circle as tight as you need to not feel any kind of clicking or popping. And then switch directions. You might feel that you have to engage in your belly a little bit for that movement to be smoother. And then bring the leg up, and again, just circle the foot. So make the circle small to begin with, going in one direction. Don't forget to breathe. Maybe making those circles bigger, noticing how you have to keep some engagement in your belly to make those movements. And then circling back in the opposite direction, circling in tighter, and then draw that knee in towards the chest, and you can just move the knee in, kind of drawing it in, and releasing, and kind of just feeling into that big flex at the front of the hip. And then maybe reaching back behind your thigh and circling your foot, your ankle, moving your toes, circling in one direction and then switching. And kind of move the toes as you circle the ankle. And release that foot down to the floor, and then picking up your left knee and doing the same thing on the other side. So circling the knee and feeling your hip. It's really your femur, the head of your femur circling around in the pelvis in one direction, and then you can circle back in the opposite direction. Might do that with no hands. And then straightening your leg up, and your knee can be a little bent if your hamstrings are tight, and circling that leg around in one direction, and then the other. Try to keep the upper body relaxed, so move from the center of your body. And then drawing that knee in and just feeling into the flexion at the front of the hip, moving a little bit, maybe kind of compressing and releasing, flexing the hip. And then reaching back behind the knee and circling your ankle joint in one direction and the other. You can wiggle your toes as you do that, or just move the toes, and then draw the knees in again and rock a little bit from side to side. And then just reach the arms and legs up and just shake them. Shake them out. And then keeping your arms and legs up, you might bring your right hand and your left leg to the floor. You can bring them all the way down, and then pressing your tailbone into the floor, exhale them back up. So inhale the left arm and the right leg down, pause, press your tailbone down, and exhale back up. Right arm and left leg, exhale back up. Left arm and right leg, exhale down, inhale back up, And just moving like that with opposite arm and leg, with a tiny pause as you touch the floor. Maybe one more time on each side. And then draw the knees in again. And rock a little side to side. And bring your feet down to the floor, and let's roll our hips up into bridge, bringing the arms up and the backs of the hands to the floor, and just pause for a moment. Keep a little space underneath your neck, so untuck your chin, and then slowly roll down. And let's do that a few more times, rolling up, bringing the arms up, the backs of the hands come to the floor, and then rolling down, your palms come down by your sides. One more time. And pause. And then bring the arms back up and over your head. We'll go in a different direction this time. We'll lift the hips and bring the hands down, just to play with our brain a little bit. And then hips down and the backs of the hands up. Do that a couple times. Lift the hips, bring the palms down to the floor by your sides, and then onto your back again with the backs of your hands up over your head, just moving. Let's do it 2 more times. The last time, keep your hips up. If you want, you could clasp your hands underneath you and roll the shoulders one at a time underneath, and just pause there. Take a few breaths into this bridge pose with your hands clasped underneath you. You could lift your toes off the floor and kind of push your heels away from you. And then release the hands and roll down again slowly. And then wrap your arms around your knees and bring your forehead to your knees, making a little ball with your body. And then releasing, let's roll onto our side and come up to hands and knees. So come to your hands and knees, and let's do a few cat-cow stretches. So find your tabletop, and then exhale, rounding your back, drawing the belly up. Exhale, tip your pelvis, inhale, just letting the movement ripple up your spine, letting your head kind of be along for the ride, feeling your belly move, breathing. And just coming back to center. Then bring your left forearm to the floor. You can kind of bring your right hand out to the side, and you can kind of let your elbow come out to the side, and just lift your right leg out to the side. Try to keep your left hip pretty still, so you're not lifting the left hip. So you're moving just your right hip as far as you can move it without having to drop your left hip. So it's like the clamshells, but we're doing it from this position. Just another time. And pause. And then this time we'll do it with opening the hips. So we'll lift it up and then we'll stack the hips and then bring it back down. So you'll lift it and open the hip and bring it back down. And just do that 2 more times. Probably feeling it. And then coming up onto your hands, step that right foot forward and come into a lunge. And if you need to, you can have your hands on the knee. We're trying to keep the head and shoulders lifted, so we're not rounding forward to get to the floor. You can walk your left knee back a little bit, coming a little deeper into the stretch in the front of your left hip. But keep the head and shoulders lifted. There's almost a little extension in the upper back. And find your breath. So you can feel your right inner thigh kind of pressing up against your torso. And you might be doing that with the hands on the knees or on blocks or on your fingertips. And just another breath there. And then take a little twist, bringing your left hand to the floor and opening up the chest, lifting the right arm. You can let your head come back and open the chest, kind of press into the floor and lift up. If you have the ability to reach back for your left foot with your right hand, you could do that. Just assisting with a twist. One more breath there, and then release that. And then we're going to come back to hands and knees. I'm going to turn around. We're going to do the other side. So coming to hands and knees. And do a couple cat-cows to begin with. So find tabletop position, rounding your spine, exhale, tipping the pelvis, and arching your back into cow. Inhale, exhale, rounding. Excuse me. So moving back and forth. And then this time we'll bring the right forearm down. So you can have your elbow out to the side just a little bit, and then the left hand comes over to the side. And we're going to lift the left knee. Try not to move your right hip, keep it still. So you're opening the knee as far as you can without moving your right hip. So you're just moving the left hip in that external rotation, kind of like we do when we do the clamshell ones, if you ever do those, where we lay on our side. And just one more there, and then pause. And then we'll stack the hips and open the hip all the way up. So we'll move the right hip, lifting as high as you can, and coming back down. So you're stacking your hips. And maybe two more, moving slowly. And then pause for a moment. And we'll step the left foot forward, bringing your weight forward. You can walk the right knee back a little bit, lifting your shoulders and your head so you're not rounding to get to the floor. You can always put blocks under your hands or bring your hands up to your knee. Find your breath. So using Ujjayi breathing, so we close off the back of the throat just slightly so that we can hear the breath. And it helps us to stay focused. So coming into your Ujjayi breathing, slight closure at the back of the throat. And then bring your right hand down and open up into the twist. So kind of stacking your shoulders, letting your head come back and opening your chest. One of my teachers once said, back bends are like you're emulating ecstasy, like you're throwing your heart open. And you can reach back for your foot maybe. That's not necessary, but if you can do it, it might feel good. And then release that. And come back to your hands and your knees. And let's come into frog pose. So you're going to let your knees be wide and come to maybe to your forearms. And then just find the spot for your pelvis. So you'll notice you can move your hips back and forward until you find just the right place. Pretty much the pelvis is centered in between the line of the knees. And then find your breath, keeping your head lifted. It's easy to kind of lose track of your head sometimes. So keep the neck neutral and keep the breath flowing. Again, coming to the Ujjayi breathing. So feeling the stretch in your inner thighs. I'm on carpet, so I can kind of slide my knees a little further apart. And then you might be able to come up onto your hands. If that feels uncomfortable on your low back, you obviously don't need to do it, but you could try it. And roll the shoulders back. And then bring your hips back. And bring your knees together. And just pause for a moment. And then we'll take a twist. So bring your right hand to the left knee, keeping your heart lifted, the crown of your head lifted. You're just turning your spine. Nice steady breath. And then turning in the opposite direction. So just a nice easy twist. And then turning back, and let's come to hands and knees again, and let's extend your left foot out to the side, toes pointing forward, and then open up into the twist. So again, you're stacking your shoulders, and you could lift your gaze up towards the ceiling. Just keep the neck long. Always in the twist, looking not to be rounding forward. You're opening the chest. You're just turning your spine, and you're breathing. So here the shoulders are stacked, and you're pressing into the floor and lifting up, and then bring that hand down and step that knee in and extend the right leg out to the side with the toes pointing straight forward, opening up into the twist like this. Again, just turning the spine, press into the floor and lengthen up. We do this one in a standing wide-legged position. In this case, we just have one knee down. This is a little easier. We'll move to that pose in a little bit. Bringing your right hand down and stepping your left knee in. And then walk your hands forward, coming into prayer pose. And you could flip your hands so that the backs of the hands come to the floor. Kind of broadening in your upper back, letting your head relax. You could flip your palms back so that your hands are spreading on the floor and wrapping your elbows and lifting the forearms. Then you could like roll the head a little bit side to side. Just rolling out all those worry lines in your forehead. And then just walking your hands over towards the left, drawing your right hip back. Again, you can flip your right palm so the back of your hand comes to the floor. Feeling a nice stretch in the right side of your body, all the way up the right, into the right armpit, and then walking your hands over towards the right and drawing your left hip back. Maybe you can flip the left hand, just playing with a stretch. Breathing, steady breath. And then coming back to your prayer again, rolling your head again, side to side. And then let's come to lie on the belly and extend your right arm out to the side with your palm on the floor. Your arm is just a little bit below the shoulder, and you're just going to roll carefully onto that side, stretching into the front of your chest. And actually, I'm going to turn this way so you can see. Your left foot is going to come over and maybe touches the floor. So you're coming into a little bit of a twist. Some people can easily do that. For some people, not so easy. So you might be bringing the sole of your foot or just tapping the toe on the floor. Whatever feels good. And then rolling back onto your belly. And then we'll extend the left arm out to the side. Bring it just a little below the shoulder. And then we'll roll onto the left side, maybe tapping the right toe over, or maybe the sole of the right foot. Sometimes it's nice to have a block under the head here. Breathing into the left shoulder. A little bit of a twist in the spine. And then back onto the belly. Coming back to center, just bringing your forearms forward so you're coming into a Sphinx pose. The elbows are just a little bit in front of the shoulders. I'm going to scooch over here onto the mat. And you might be able to feel like your legs are engaged and you're kind of pulling your belly forward, pulling your heart through. And your neck is at ease. You could even move the head. could also tip the chin towards the chest and then tip it up. And then reaching the arms forward for a moment. And then sweep the arms back towards the sacrum and lift up, rolling up, and lift your toes. So you're in this armless cobra or locust. You could rock a little bit side to side, maybe rolling all the way over onto the left side, opening the chest, feeling your right shoulder blade, sliding down, coming onto your side, and then roll onto your opposite side. Nice steady breath. And then back onto the belly and release. And just rocking the hips a little bit again, letting go of all of that. And then let's just come up to hands and knees and go ahead and just circle your hips. So kind of circling the pelvis off the rib cage. So your rib cage and pelvis are kind of moving independently, and then circle in the other direction. And then you might make the circles bigger, kind of just exploring the motion. And then switch directions. And then coming back to your hands and knees, spreading your hands. So your hands are about shoulder width towards the front of the mat, wrapping the elbows in so that the shoulders can slide down the back, tuck your toes, lifting the hips, coming into downward dog. The knees are bent and the tail is lifting, and then you might bend one knee and the other, kind of pedaling your feet. And keep the neck easy. Moving the hips. And then from here, we'll step the left foot forward and we'll come up into the lunge. This time we're gonna come upright. So we're bringing the weight up and over the right knee to the point where you could even lift your left foot and balance. And then keeping that same strength in your right leg, let your arms come up. Lifting the gaze, finding the breath. Nice, big, deep, comfortable breath. Making that slight closure at the back of the throat for Ujjayi breathing. And then you could draw your shoulder blades together and your elbows back, maybe make a fist, and then release your hands, bring them up. And then make a fist and draw the elbows together. Inhale the arms up. One more time, exhale. Stretching the front of the chest. And then spread your hands and reach up. And then we'll just step that knee back. Just do your best. And lift the right foot and bring it forward. Again, so the weight is up and over the left knee. And let your arms come up. Lifting the gaze, finding your Ujjayi breathing. Nice and focused. Steady breath, steady gaze. And then sweep your arms back. And you could clasp the hands and open the chest. And releasing. And then we'll step that foot back in and come back to downward facing dog. And again, just moving a little bit and then coming back to center. Let's step your right foot up and over the left foot, bringing the sole of your right foot to the floor and lifting your right hip. Stretching into the lower back, feeling how your pelvis is separating from your rib cage, lengthening through that right side of your body, and then stepping back to center. Left foot comes up and over, Nice big breath. Bringing the sole of your left foot to the floor, lifting your left hip. Keep wrapping your elbows in so your arms are strong, shoulders are supporting you. Sliding down your rib cage, stepping back to center. And pause for a moment. And then let's step the left foot forward. And we'll bring the right knee down and then turn your right foot will come back like this. Then bring your left elbow to your left knee and sweep the arm up. So this is extended side angle, but we have the right knee down. So it's a nice stretch, feeling the stretch all the way up the side of your right side of your torso, into the shoulder. Again, finding your nice, deep, steady Ujjayi breathing. Watching for the head. We don't want to drop the head. Keep the neck long. And then sweeping that arm up. And let's step the knee in like that. And we'll go to the other side. So we'll just bring the right foot into the lunge. Bringing the right elbow to the right knee. And your arm up. So long through both sides of the torso, reaching up. You could look underneath your arm. The shoulder blade is still able to slide, so there's no feeling of being stuck in the left shoulder. There's some opening in the right hip. And just another breath or two. And then release your arm and stepping in back to center. And then we'll come back to hands and knees and do a couple of cat-cows again, just rounding your spine and arching. Move really slowly. See how slowly you can do your cat-cow. Feeling all the segments of your spine. And the next time you come to cow, tuck your toes and lift your hips back up to your downward facing dog. And here you might try a variation for the shoulder. So you could lift your right hand, bring it back to your right hip. Keep wrapping your left elbow in so the shoulder is tight on the rib cage, and then open the right shoulder. And release that. And then bring left hand back to the left hip. Again, wrap the right elbow in and lift your your left shoulder. And release. And then from here, let's come forward into plank pose. And you could do plank with your knees down. This is a beginner class, so let's start with the knees down. The weight is, your shoulders are right over your wrists, or even a little bit in front of your wrists. The back of your head is staying lifted. So this isn't hands and knees, this is just plank with the knees down. I mean, it is hands and knees, but it's a little different how the weight is distributed. And then with the elbows by your sides, come down onto the floor. And you might bring your arms out to the sides, tend to your fingers, your elbows are kind of pointing straight up, and then roll up. You don't have to come real far, and roll down. So do that a few times. You can bring your head all the way to the floor. So moving through a comfortable range of motion where you're not feeling any pinching in your low back. So engage your belly as you come up. Use the strength of your arms. And also using all those muscles around the spine and the belly to help you move. And then just release and rock the hips. And let's try a quad stretch here. So bringing your left forearm across the front of your mat and reach back for your right foot with your right hand. So really press into the floor and lift up maybe you can feel for your foot and spin your hand, or maybe not, just maybe you're kind of pulling the heel towards the buttock and breathing. So you're feeling a stretch in your quads in the front of the thigh. You're also lifting your belly and you're breathing. Nice steady breath, and release that. And then we'll switch sides, bringing the right forearm to the floor. Reach back for your left foot, maybe drawing the buttock, the heel towards the buttock. And for me, since I'm able to spin my fingers over the top of my foot, I'm also able to get a stretch of my foot. But this isn't accessible to everyone, especially beginners. You might be just reaching for your foot, and that's enough. And release. And then circle your, lift your feet up and circle the lower legs. Make circles in one direction. You're also kind of moving your hips. And then circle in the other direction. And then go side to side. And then bringing your hands down, elbows tucked in by your sides, bend the knees, tuck your toes, and lift up into downward facing dog. And then from here, let's walk forward. So you might need to come onto your fingertips and bend the knees and walk forward, coming into a forward bend. So you're hinging forward at the hip and finding your long neutral spine here. So no rounding forward. Keeping the shoulder blades back against the rib cage. Long neutral spine, including your neck. Tail's lifting. Keeping the head and shoulders lifted. Nice steady breath. Feel your feet on the floor. Might even look down at your feet. Just noticing, spreading the toes. And then bring yourself all the way up to stand, coming into standing mountain pose. And then take some twists. Just let your arms hang, turning from side to side. See if you can let your arms be dead weight. Gravity is assisting you, and momentum. And just another time, and then just come back to center. And then let's step the feet wide apart. So coming into a wide-legged position, and again, hinging forward at the hip and coming into a forward bend. And you can use a block under your hands if you need to. And then just bend into one knee and the other. Moving from side to side. You could also let your shoulders and your elbows move. And then coming back to center. And let's walk our hands over towards the right ankle or lower leg. Relax your head. Tip your tail up. Again, feel how you're distributing the weight of your body over the soles of your feet. See if you can even it out a little. So feel how your left hip is drawing back and you're getting a big stretch up the left side of your torso, through the waistline and up into the shoulder. And walking the hands over towards the left foot, drawing right hip back. Nice steady breath. Relax your neck. And then walking hands back to center. You could walk them forward and reach using a block if you need to. And then let's bring the hands in towards center. So bring your right hand in between the line of your toes. So we did this before. We took a big twist, opening the chest. But last time we did this, we had the knee on the floor. So you could bring your arm up or you can bring the hand back to the sacrum if that's more comfortable. You're just turning the spine. So keeping the hips right where they are, turning the spine from the tip of your tailbone straight up through the crown of the head. The image that comes to mind for me is like when somebody roasts a chicken and they put it on a spit and it turns. It's kind of what is happening here. And then turning back down, so you're just turning the spine, bringing your left hand in between the line of the toes and turning, bringing the hand, maybe the right hand back to your sacrum or buttock, keeping the head lifted so the neck stays long. Breathing, so finding Ujjayi breath. And releasing that. And let's heel toe, actually turn your toes in and maybe bend the knees a little bit and you'll feel a big stretch in the outer parts of your lower legs. Just be careful with your knees. That feels quite intense. Kind of going side to side carefully. Maybe you can bend them both. Woohoo! And then heel toe the feet in so that your feet are just a little wider than your hips. And bring your hands to your ankles, pressing your knees apart with the elbows. So dropping your hips, keeping the head lifted, tail lifted. So long neutral spine here. I'm going to turn sideways. So you're going to low squat. Keeping the knees pressing open. You could reach forward if you want a little more. So your hips are drawing back as you reach forward for counterbalance. It's a little harder. You can always keep the hands down. Take another breath and then just release and come into this wide-legged forward bend and just move a little bit, letting it go. And let's do it one more time. So bend the knees, bring your hands to your ankles, press your knees apart, drop your hips a bit. So keep your tailbone lifting, your head and shoulders lifting, maybe reaching forward with the arms, or you can keep your hands down, breathing. Try not to gather tension in your shoulders, so keep the shoulder blades sliding. And release, just letting it go. So that's a lot of quads and glutes and hamstrings. And then just coming all the way up to stand. We'll do a few more standing poses. So just come to the front of your mat and find your standing mountain pose. Bring your hands together at your heart for a moment and find your breath. And then we'll lift the arms and reach up. And so we're grounding through the sacrum here. We're really lengthening the tailbone down as we lift up through the pubic bone, through the sternum. Exhale, come forward, hinging at the hip. And just taking a moment here in your forward bend again. Steady breath. And we'll step the left foot back. This time keep the knee lifted, coming up so your feet are hip width, bending your back knee to keep this neutral position of your pelvis, your low back, and letting the arms come up. Taking a couple of breaths. Really strong in the legs, your hips are staying square. The front knee is tracking over the center of your toes. And then exhale, bring the hands down, step back to downward facing dog. And just moving a little bit. You can always come to your knees if you need to. And then from there, we'll come into plank, and you can do that with the knees down or with your knees lifted. So the hips are right in between the line of your heels and the crown of the head. So long line, your plank. And then coming down onto the belly, maybe with the knees down, sweeping the hands back, clasp your hands and lift the toes. Taking a couple breaths here. And then release the arms. Bring your forearms to the floor and come into Sphinx pose. And then bringing the hands under the shoulders, tuck your elbows in, bend your knees, and lift your hips. Coming back to downward dog. And then we're going to step the left foot forward, and we're going to bend your right knee, lifting your heel, keeping the hips square, and coming into warrior one with the back heel lifted. So grounding through the sacrum, lifting up through the front of the body, finding your steady Ujjayi breathing. And just think, how are you going to step forward? Do that using your center. And find your forward bend. Just another breath. And then we'll inhale and bring the arms up. So, lifting your heart, and then hands come together, and pause for a moment. Nice steady breath. And then from here, walk to the back of your mat, if you're using a mat, and coming down, I'm going to roll down. If this doesn't feel good for your back, you can just come down with a flat back. But you could also try intentionally rounding your spine, like we do in cat-cow. Draw your belly in, let your arms hang, draw your chin to your chest, and roll down with your knees bent, bringing the hands to the floor and then walking yourself out into your downward dog. Let's lift your right leg straight up. You might come up onto the ball of the left foot. So lifting that heel up and pressing through the heel. And then draw that knee forward slowly. And coming into pigeon. So your knee comes out to the side. And your right heel might be in towards the groin. You might come up onto the fingertips. So you're finding a little back bend here, lifting your belly, and slowly coming forward into your forearms. Finding your long spine and finding your breath. So let your breath, allow yourself to feel the breath in the back of the rib cage. So almost like the back of your rib cage is inflating, like puffing up a little as you breathe. Stay really focused, finding your gaze, really feeling the stretch in the outer hip on the right side. You can always adjust yourself. If there's any discomfort in the knee, we're not trying to do that at all. You might feel stretching around the knee, but nothing that's painful. And with the outer hip, it can feel pretty uncomfortable to stretch it. So you can back off a little or find your breath. We're not looking for anything extreme, just the kind of discomfort that we can feel is safe and productive. And then just walking your hands in, you could plant your right hand and reach back for your left ankle with your left hand and kind of pull your ankle into your hand to open up the front of your left side, belly. And release that. And lean to your right and sweep your left foot forward. So I'm going to turn to face the camera. Bringing the left foot all the way to the outside of your right leg. So you'll probably be lifting your left sit bone and letting it come back to the floor so that you're sitting evenly over your sit bones. If that hurts your right knee, or if you can't get your left sit bone down, just extend your right leg. Straighten it out in front of you. So find the breath here. Before you twist at all, just find your breath. And then maybe the right hand comes underneath the left thigh and the left hand comes back behind you as you turn, keeping your shoulder blades relaxed down the back, opening your chest, breathing, lengthening up through the crown of the head as you twist. And then take a little counter twist, just an easy counter twist. And then coming back and turning back to face forward, we're going to stack the knees and come into this steer pose. And that, again, that could be with your right leg straight. So you're in a half steer. So taking a moment there, coming forward. You can reach for the foot as long as it's not going to cause you to round if you're straightening your right leg. So a couple breaths there, hinging forward at the hip. So you're still lifting through your shoulders and your head. It's pretty warm in here tonight. It's actually turned out to be a pretty warm day today. And then just coming back up. And then we're going to make our way back to downward dog. So you're going to lift the left leg up and step back and up to downward dog. And just taking a moment, and this time we'll lift the left leg up, maybe coming onto the ball of the right foot, and then we'll draw the left knee forward. Coming into pigeon on the other side. So your left knee is angling out, and come up to the fingertips like we did on the other side. The hips are kind of centered and square, and then you're moving forward to the forearms, probably, maybe all the way to the floor, and just keeping your hips kind of centered. You can feel the stretch in the outer hip. And breathing, staying with your long spine so the head isn't dropping to the floor. You're keeping it lifted. And then we'll walk the hands in and lift that back foot. If you can, reach for that foot or ankle with your right hand and kind of pull open your right shoulder, and also feeling up the belly in your psoas, in your hip flexors, quads. And then release the foot, leaning to the left. We'll swing the back leg around for the seated twist. So the right foot comes to the outer left thigh, bringing the sole of your right foot to the floor there. So grounding yourself, reaching your left hand underneath your right thigh and your right hand back, and just turning into the twist. Letting your shoulder blades relax and slide down the rib cage. Breathing. Again, Ujjayi breathing, so the back of your throat is slightly constricted so you can hear your breath. And then turning back, and we'll stack the knees And again, if that's too much, you can straighten your bottom leg, your left leg, and then maybe there's some forward motion. It's with the hinge of the hips. Nice steady breath. So feeling the stretch. And then coming back up. And I forgot to do the counter stretch, so we'll just do it now. So you're just doing the opposite twist away from the lifted knee. And then turning back, and then straighten your legs out in front of you. And you can lean back and just let your feet kind of flop side to side. And then point your toes and flex the feet, spreading your toes a couple times. Maybe bring the toes together as you point and then apart as you flex. And then just move your feet around a little bit. And maybe bend your knees a little. Last time I did this, the camera fell down, so I won't pound very hard. And then just sitting up, reaching forward, just rolling slowly down, tucking your pelvis and rolling down onto your back. Drawing the knees in and just rocking a little bit back and forth. And again, you could bring the legs up and the arms up and just shake them out. And actually, I'm going to take this mat out from under me. I'm going to use a ball. So we use these small child-sized basketballs. And so we're going to use that underneath the lower back. So bring it underneath your sacrum. So you can feel it's pretty low on the sacrum. And then bringing your arms. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sleepy. It's 8 o'clock. Bringing your, just moving your pelvis. So tipping and tucking. So you're kind of nodding your tailbone up and down and just pressing it into the ball and then lifting it up away from the ball. And then lift the knees as you press the tailbone into the ball, bringing your legs up, and we'll start one leg at a time. Inhaling the heel down towards the floor, pressing tailbone into the ball and exhaling back up. One leg at a time. Inhaling, heel towards the floor, hovering, pressing tailbone, exhaling back up. So one leg at a time. Inhaling down, exhaling back up. Moving slowly so that you're not using a lot of momentum, but just more like you're using muscular effort. Nice, steady breath. And then just drawing your knees in towards your chest and rocking a little bit side to side. And then we'll do it with 2 legs. So bringing your arms out to the sides again, heels together, toes apart, and both heels down. You can do this without the ball, it's a little bit harder. So inhale the heels down towards the floor, press the tailbone into the ball, and exhale back up. If you don't have a ball, just do it on the floor without the ball. So keeping your belly drawing down and lengthening the belly. And just maybe one more time. Inhale, your heels down towards the floor and hover. Try to breathe. And then let the heels come all the way down and just allow yourself to kind of drape over the ball. So you're getting kind of a passive stretch through the front of your hips. And then walk your feet in. And you could reach for the soles of your feet and come into happy baby. If you have a ball, your tailbone's on the ball. So your tailbone's lifted. If you don't have a ball, you can do it without the ball. And if you can't reach your feet without rolling up like that, just bring your hands back behind your thighs. So just another breath. And then release, bringing your feet down. So the ball is not under your tailbone any longer, under your lower back. So let's bring let's lift the right foot, flex your foot, and bring your right ankle on top of your left knee. And then you could lift your left foot, maybe reaching back behind your left thigh, kind of drawing your left thigh in to intensify the stretch in your right hip, maybe rocking a little bit side to side. And then maybe you could release your hands from behind your left thigh, bringing your left hand onto your right ankle, and let that foot come all the way over onto the floor. So you're going to be in a twist. You could bring your right arm out towards the opposite, towards the right side. And you might allow your right knee to kind of move away. So you're almost pushing it away. And that you'll feel that stretch in the right side of your torso in an interesting way, maybe in the rib cage, the hip. And then lifting yourself back up to center and unwind yourself, and then bring your left ankle on top of your right knee. You can flex your left foot, reaching behind your right thigh, maybe pressing your left elbow into the left knee, and keep your tailbone moving back towards the floor as you rock side to side. This figure 4 stretch. Drawing that right thigh in closer to intensify the stretch in your outer left hip. And then release your hands, bring your right hand onto left ankle and your left arm out to the side, and let the sole of your left foot come all the way over. And then you're kind of moving your left knee away from you, so you're pushing it away, feeling that stretch in some interesting places. So you're in a twist. If you can't keep your hand on the ankle, that's okay, just let it go. One more breath there, and then come back up and release your foot. Drawing both knees in and just rocking a little bit side to side. And then bringing your knees together, roll over onto your left side. So your knees are together, and you could bring your arms out and just slowly, keeping the knees together, slowly bring your right arm back and then turn into the twist. So your knees are staying right where they are, and you're opening your chest. You might feel that your right knee is kind of sliding back. It's hard to keep them stacked. That's okay. Taking a couple breaths in that twist. You could try moving your knees together more. For me, that's just a little bit too much. I kind of need that right knee to slide back a little. And then bring the right arm back up and over for a moment. And then we'll roll back onto our back. And then we're going to roll onto our right side, keeping the knees together and bringing your arms out. And then the left hand slides up the right arm and comes over into the twist. So you're opening the chest, the knees are staying together-ish. Probably the left knee is sliding back from the top of the right knee. Breathing. Opening your chest. Kind of try to tuck yourself, your right shoulder under so that you're really feeling almost your whole upper back on the floor, even as your knees kind of stay together. One more breath, and then we'll bring that arm back over, and then roll onto our back, rocking a little bit. If you have the ball handy, you could take it and put it underneath your head, and before we come into corpse pose, just bring the ball back behind your neck and head, and turn your head from side to side, just pressing into the back of your neck. Should feel good. Feeling into some of your spots. Just coming back to a natural breathing, letting go of any effort with your breathing, letting it be calm and natural. And then taking that ball out and just setting it off to the side and coming onto your back, taking any last adjustments your body needs before coming into corpse pose. So we started here and we're going to end here. So just letting your body relax against the floor, feeling your shoulder blades against the floor, the back of your head, your pelvis. You can probably feel your spine, the heaviness of your legs. And just allow yourself to surrender here. And maybe you can close your eyes. I'm going to come back to a seat, but stay on your back. I'm just going to talk you through a moment of Shavasana. So just letting yourself be surrendered and taking a few moments there. So feeling really heavy. See if you can let your belly be really soft. And all of the muscles of your jaw releasing. You could even let your lower jaw be a little bit detached from your skull. Softening your tongue and your lips. Letting your eyes settle back into your skull. Feeling all of the wrinkles in your forehead dissipating and softening. Soft in the front of your throat. Soft in the front of your chest and open. And just feel your natural breath coming in and out through your nose. Letting it be as much breath as you need, so letting it be comfortable. Feeling your belly really soft, the breath coming in and out, letting your belly rise and fall gently. I'm just kind of taking a moment here in these last moments to notice the effects of your practice, the effects of the movements, and Just noticing if there's anywhere that you can soften or release a little bit more completely in these last moments of your final resting pose. Just noticing if there's any resistance anywhere. And maybe taking a deeper breath. Exhaling all the air out. One more time, inhale. And then rolling onto your side and coming back to your seat for a few balanced breaths in this upright position. So rolling onto your side and coming back to your seat, grounding yourself. I'm sitting on a block. You could sit up on a cushion or a block if you need to, or in a chair. Letting your spine be tall, finding the neutral spine, feeling how your head is balanced on top of your shoulders so there's no strain in the neck, and then finding your breath here. So feeling the breath all the way around your chest, feeling it in the back of your chest. Letting your breath be like a nice flow, so there's no stickiness or discomfort, just letting it flow in and out of your body like a river, the river of your breath, river of air. You might be closing your eyes, or you might have your eyes open, but finding a nice soft gaze. Maybe bringing a little bit of a smile onto your face, just relaxing your face. And bringing the hands together at your heart. You could bow your head to your own practice, your own inner teacher, your higher self, or your higher power. Thank you so much for joining in, either now or perhaps if you're watching later. And Misan, if you're there, hello to you. And have a lovely evening.